Chapter 7 of Short Stories. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Florence Short. Short Stories by Fyodor Dostoyevsky. Chapter 7. Another Man's Wife, or The Husband Under the Bed. An Extraordinary Adventure. 1. "Be so kind, sir. Allow me to ask you." The gentleman so addressed started and looked with some alarm at the gentleman in raccoon furs who had accosted him so abruptly at 8 o'clock in the evening in the street. We all know that if a Petersburg gentleman suddenly in the street speaks to another gentleman with whom he is unacquainted, the second gentleman is invariably alarmed. And so the gentleman addressed started and was somewhat alarmed. "Excuse me for troubling you," said the gentleman in raccoon, "but I really don't know. You will pardon me, no doubt. You see, I am a little upset." Only then the young man in the wadded overcoat observed that this gentleman in the raccoon furs certainly was upset. His wrinkled face was rather pale, his voice trembling. He was evidently in some confusion of mind. His words did not follow easily from his tongue, and it could be seen that it cost him a terrible effort to present a very humble request to a personage possibly his inferior in rank or condition, in spite of the urgent necessity of addressing his request to somebody. And indeed the request was in any case unseemly, undignified, strange, coming from a man who had such a dignified fur coat, such a respectable jacket of a superb dark green color, and such distinguished decorations adorning that jacket. It was evident that the gentleman in raccoon was himself confused by all this, so that at last he could not stand it, but made up his mind to suppress his emotion and politely to put an end to the unpleasant position he had himself brought about. "Excuse me, I'm not myself, but it is true you don't know me. Forgive me for disturbing you. I have changed my mind." Here from politeness he raised his hat and hurried off. But allow me. The little gentleman had, however, vanished into the darkness, leaving the gentleman in the wadded overcoat in a state of stupefaction. What a queer fellow, thought the gentleman in the wadded coat, after wondering, as was only natural, and recovering at last from his stupefaction, he bethought him of his own affairs, and began walking to and fro, staring intently at the gates of a house with an endless number of stories. A fog was beginning to come on, and the young man was somewhat relieved at it, for his walking up and down was less noticeable in the fog, though indeed no one would have noticed him but some cabmen who had been waiting all day without a fare. "Excuse me." The young man started again. Again the gentleman in raccoon was standing before him. "Excuse me again," he began, "but you are no doubt an honourable man. Take no notice of my social position. But I am getting muddled. Look at it as man to man. You see before you, sir, a man craving a humble favour." "If I can. What do you want?" "Ah, you imagine, perhaps, that I am asking for money," said the mysterious gentleman, with a wry smile, laughing hysterically and turning pale. "Oh dear, no." "No, I see that I am tiresome to you. Excuse me, I cannot bear myself. Consider that you are seeing a man in an agitated condition, almost of insanity, and do not draw any conclusion, but to the point, responded the young man, nodding his head encouragingly and impatiently. "Now think of that! A young man like you reminding me to keep to the point, as though I were some heedless boy! I must certainly be doting. How do I seem to you in my degrading position? Tell me frankly." The young man was overcome with confusion and said nothing. "Allow me to ask you openly, have you not seen a lady? That is all I have to ask you," the gentleman in the raccoon coat said resolutely at last. "Lady?" "Yes, a lady." "Yes, I have seen, but I must say lots of them have passed." "Just so," answered the mysterious gentleman with a bitter smile. "I am muddled. I did not mean to ask that. Excuse me, I meant to say, haven't you seen a lady in a fox fur cape, in a dark velvet hood, and a black veil?" "No, I haven't noticed one like that. No, I think I haven't seen one." "Well, in that case, excuse me." The young man wanted to ask a question, but the gentleman in raccoon vanished again. Again he left his patient listener in a state of stupefaction. "Well, the devil take him!" thought the young man in the wadded overcoat, evidently troubled. With annoyance he turned up his beaver collar, and began cautiously walking to and fro again before the gates of the house of many stories. He was raging inwardly. "Why doesn't she come out?" he thought. "It will soon be 8 o'clock." The town clock struck 8. "Oh, devil take you! Excuse me." "Excuse me for speaking like that, but you came upon me so suddenly that you quite frightened me," said the young man, frowning and apologizing. "Here I am again. I must strike you as tiresome and queer." "Be so good as to explain at once, without more ado. I don't know what it is you want." "You are in a hurry. Do you see I will tell you everything openly, without wasting words. It cannot be helped. Circumstances sometimes bring together people of very different characters. But I see you are impatient, young man. So here, though I really don't know how to tell you, I am looking for a lady. I have made up my mind to tell you all about it. You see, I must know where that lady has gone, who she is. I imagine there is no need for you to know her name, young man. Well, well, what next?" "What next? But what a tone you take with me! Excuse me, but perhaps I have offended you by calling you young man, but I had nothing. In short, if you are willing to do me a very great service, here it is. A lady, that is, I mean a gentlewoman of a very good family, of my acquaintance. I have been commissioned. I have no family, you see." "Oh? Put yourself in my position, young man. Ah, I've done it again. Excuse me, I keep calling you young man. Every minute is precious. Only fancy, that lady. But cannot you tell me who lives in this house?" "But lots of people live here." "Ah, yes, that is, you are perfectly right," answered the man in raccoon, giving a slight laugh for the sake of good manners. "I feel I am rather muddled. But why do you take that tone? You see, I admit frankly that I am muddled, and however haughty you are, you have seen enough of my humiliation to satisfy you. Say a lady of honourable conduct, that is, of light tendencies. Excuse me, I am so confused. It is as though I were speaking of literature. Paul de Kock is supposed to be of light tendencies, and all the trouble comes from him. You see." The young man looked compassionately at the gentleman in raccoon, who seemed in a hopeless muddle, and pausing, stared at him with a meaningless smile, and with a trembling hand, for no apparent reason, gripped the lappet of his wadded overcoat. "You ask who lives here?" said the young man, stepping back a little. "Yes, you told me lots of people live here." "Here. I know that Sofya Ostafyevna lives here too." the young man brought out in a low and even commiserating tone. "There, you know something, young man." "I assure you I don't. I know nothing. I judge from your troubled air. I have just learned from the cook that she does come here, but you are on the wrong tack, that is, with Sofya Ostafyevna. She does not know her." "No? Oh, I beg your pardon then. I see this is of no interest to you, young man," said the queer man with bitter irony. "Listen," said the young man, hesitating. "I really don't understand why you are in such a state, but tell me frankly, I suppose you are being deceived." The young man smiled approvingly. "We shall understand one another anyway," he added, and his whole person loftily betrayed an inclination to make a half bow. "You crush me, but I frankly confess that is just it. But it happens to every one. I am deeply touched by your sympathy, to be sure, among young men, though I am not young. But you know, habit, a bachelor life, among bachelors, we all know." "Oh, yes, we all know. But in what way can I be of assistance to you?" "Why, look here, admitting a visit to Sofya Ostafyevna, though I don't know for a fact where the lady has gone, I only know that she is in that house. But seeing you walking up and down, and I am walking up and down on the same side myself, I thought, you see, I am waiting for that lady. I know that she is there. I should like to meet her and explain to her how shocking and improper it is. In fact, you understand me?" "Well, I am not acting for myself, don't imagine it. It is another man's wife. Her husband is standing over there on Voznesensky Bridge. He wants to catch her, but he doesn't dare. He is still loath to believe it, as every husband is." Here the gentleman in raccoon made an effort to smile. "I am a friend of his. You can see for yourself I am a person held in some esteem. I could not be what you take me for." "Oh, of course. Well, well?" "So you see I am on the look out for her. The task has been entrusted to me, the unhappy husband. But I know that the young lady is sly. Paul de Kock for ever under her pillow. I am certain she scurries off somewhere on the sly. I must confess the cook told me she comes here. I rushed off like a madman as soon as I heard the news. I want to catch her. I have long had suspicions, and so I wanted to ask you. You are walking here, I don't know. Come, what is it you want?" "Yes, I have not the honour of your acquaintance. I do not venture to inquire who and what you may be. Allow me to introduce myself, anyway. Glad to meet you." The gentleman, quivering with agitation, warmly shook the young man's hand. "I ought to have done this to begin with," he added, "but I have lost all sense of good manners." The gentleman in raccoon could not stand still as he talked. He kept looking about him uneasily, fidgeted with his feet, and like a drowning man clutched at the young man's hand. "You see," he went on, "I meant to address you in a friendly way. Excuse the freedom. I meant to ask you to walk along the other side and down the side street where there is a back entrance. I, too, on my side, will walk from the front entrance, so that we cannot miss her. I'm afraid of missing her by myself. I don't want to miss her. When you see her, stop her and shout to me. But I'm mad, only now I see the foolishness and impropriety of my suggestion." "No, why, no, it's all right." "Don't make excuses for me. I am so upset. I have never been in such a state before, as though I were being tried for my life. I must own, indeed, I will be straightforward and honourable with you, young man, I actually thought you might be the lover. That is, to put it simply, you want to know what I am doing here. You are an honourable man, my dear sir. I am far from supposing that you are he. I will not insult you with such a suspicion, but give me your word of honour that you are not the lover." "Oh, very well, I'll give you my word of honour that I am a lover, but not of your wife. Otherwise I shouldn't be here in the street, but should be with her now." "Wife? Who told you she was my wife, young man? I am a bachelor. I am a lover myself. You told me there is a husband on Voznesensky Bridge." Of course, I am talking too freely, but there are other ties, and you know, young man, a certain lightness of character that is..." "Yes, to be sure, to be sure. That is, I am not her husband at all." "Oh, no doubt, but I tell you frankly that in reassuring you now, I want to set my own mind at rest, and that is why I am candid with you. You are upsetting me and in my way. I promise that I will call you, but I most humbly beg you to move further away and let me alone. I am waiting for some one too." Certainly, I will move further off. I respect the passionate impatience of your heart. Oh, how well I understand you at this moment. Oh, all right, till we meet again. But excuse me, young man, here I am again. I don't know how to say it. Give me your word of honour once more as a gentleman that you are not her lover." "Oh, mercy on us!" "One more question, the last. Do you know the surname of the husband of your, that is, I mean the lady who is the object of your devotion?" "Of course I do. It is not your name, and that is all about it." "Why, how do you know my name?" "But I say you had better go. You are losing time. She might go away 1,000 times." "Why, what do you want? Your lady's in a fox cape and a hood, while mine is wearing a plaid cloak and a pale blue velvet hat. What more do you want? What else?" "A pale blue velvet hat? She has a plaid cloak and a pale blue velvet hat?" cried the pertinacious man, instantly turning back again. "Oh, hang it all! Why, that may well be, and indeed my lady does not come here." "Where is she then, your lady? You want to know that? What is it to you?" "I must own I am still... mercy on us! Why, you have no sense of decency, none at all. Well, my lady has friends here, on the third storey, looking into the street. Why, do you want me to tell you their names?" "My goodness, I have friends too who live on the third storey, and their windows look on to the street. General, if you like. I will tell you what general. Well, then, General Polovitsyn." "You don't say so! No, that is not the same. Damnation! Oh, damnation!" "Not the same?" "No, not the same." Both were silent, looking at each other in perplexity. "Why are you looking at me like that?" exclaimed the young man, shaking off his stupefaction and air of uncertainty with vexation. The gentleman was in a fluster. "I must own..." "Come, allow me. Let us talk more sensibly now. It concerns us both. Explain to me, whom do you know there?" "You mean, who are my friends?" "Yes, your friends." "Well, you see, I see from your eyes I have guessed right." "Hang it all! No, hang it all! Are you blind? Why, I am standing here before you. I am not with her. Oh, well, I don't care whether you say so or not." Twice in his fury the young man turned on his heel with a contemptuous wave of his hand. "Oh, I meant nothing, I assure you. As an honourable man, I will tell you all about it. At first my wife used to come here alone. They are relatives of hers. I had no suspicions. Yesterday I met his Excellency. He told me that he had moved 3 weeks ago from here to another flat, and my wife, that is not mine but somebody else's, the husband's, on Voznesensky Bridge, that lady had told me that she was with them the day before yesterday, in this flat, I mean, and the cook told me that his Excellency's flat had been taken by a young man called Bobynitsyn. Oh, damn it all, damn it all! My dear sir, I am in terror, I am in alarm. Oh, hang it all, what is it to me that you are in terror and in alarm? Ah, over there, some one flitted by, over there. Where? You just shout, Ivan Andreyitch, and I will run. All right, oh, confound it! Ivan Andreyitch, here I am!" cried Ivan Andreyitch, returning utterly breathless. "What is it? What is it? Where?" "Oh, no, I didn't mean anything. I wanted to know what this lady's name is." "Glafira?" "No, not Glafira. Excuse me, I cannot tell you her name." As he said this the worthy man was as white as a sheet. "Oh, of course it's not Glafira. I know it is not Glafira, and mine's not Glafira. But with whom can she be? Where?" "There. Oh, damn it, damn it!" The young man was in such a fury that he could not stand still. "There, you see! How did you know that her name was Glafira? Oh, damn it all, really, to have a bother with you too! Why, you say that yours is not called Glafira." "My dear sir, what a way to speak!" "Oh, the devil! As though that mattered now! What is she? Your wife?" "No, that is, I am not married, but I would not keep flinging the devil at a respectable man in trouble, a man I will not say worthy of esteem, but at any rate a man of education. You keep saying 'the devil, the devil.'" "To be sure, the devil take it! So there you are. Do you understand? You are blinded by anger, and I say nothing. Oh, dear, who is that?" "Where?" There was a noise and a sound of laughter. Two pretty girls ran down the steps. Both the men rushed up to them. "Oh, what manners! What do you want?" "Where are you shoving? They are not the right ones." "Ah, so you have pitched on the wrong ones. Cab!" "Where do you want to go, mademoiselle?" "To Pokrov. Get in, Annushka. I'll take you." "Oh, I'll sit on the other side. Off! Now mind you drive quickly." The cab drove off. Where did they come from? Oh dear, hadn't we better go there?" "Where?" "Why, to Bobynitsyn's." "No, that's out of the question." "Why?" "I would go there, of course, but then she would tell me some other story. She would get out of it. She would say that she had come on purpose to catch me with some one, and I should get into trouble." "And you know she may be there." "But you...." "I don't know for what reason. Why, you might go to the general's." "But you know he has moved." "That doesn't matter, you know. She has gone there. So you go too." "Don't you understand? Behave as though you didn't know the general had gone away. Go as though you had come to fetch your wife, and so on." "And then?" "Well, and then find the person you want at Bobynitsyn's." "Damnation take you, what a senseless...." "Well, and what is it to you, my findings? You see...." "What, my good man, what? You are on the same old tack again. Oh, Lord have mercy on us! You ought to be ashamed, you absurd person, you senseless person!" "Yes, but why are you so interested? Do you want to find out?" "Find out what? What? Oh, damnation take you, I have no thoughts for you now. I'll go alone. Go away. Get along. Look out. Be off." "My dear sir, you are almost forgetting yourself," cried the gentleman in raccoon in despair. "Well, what of it? What if I am forgetting myself?" said the young man, setting his teeth and stepping up to the gentleman in raccoon in a fury. "What of it? Forgetting myself before whom?" he thundered, clenching his fists. "But allow me, sir." "Well, who are you? Before whom am I forgetting myself? What is your name?" "I don't know about that, young man. Why do you want my name?" "I cannot tell it to you." "I better come with you. Let us go. I won't hang back. I am ready for anything. But I assure you I deserve greater politeness and respect. You ought never to lose your self-possession, and if you are upset about something I can guess about what. At any rate there is no need to forget yourself. You are still a very, very young man." "What is it to me that you are old? There's nothing wonderful in that. Go away. Why are you dancing about here?" "How am I old? Of course, in position, but I'm not dancing about." "I can see that, but get away with you." "No, I'll stay with you. You cannot forbid me. I am mixed up in it too. I will come with you." "Well, then, keep quiet, keep quiet. Hold your tongue." They both went up the steps and ascended the stairs to the third storey. It was rather dark. "Stay, have you got matches?" "Matches? What matches?" "Do you smoke cigars?" "Oh, yes, I have. Here they are. Here they are. Here, stay." The gentleman in raccoon rummaged in a fluster. "Wheugh! What a senseless detonation! I believe this is the door." "This? This? 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 Why are you bawling? Hush!" "My dear sir, overcoming my feelings, You are a reckless fellow, so there!" The light flared up. "Yes, so it is. Here is the brass plate. This is Bobynitsyn's. Do you see Bobynitsyn?" "I see it, I see it." "Hush!" "Why, has it gone out?" "Yes, it has." "Should we knock?" "Yes, we must," responded the gentleman in raccoon. "Knock then." "No, why should I? You begin, you knock." "Coward!" "You are a coward yourself." "Get away with you." "I almost regret having confided my secret to you. "I? What about me?" You take advantage of my distress. You see that I am upset." "But do I care? I think it's ridiculous, that's all about it." "Why are you here?" "Why are you here, too?" "Delightful morality!" observed the gentleman in raccoon with indignation. "What are you saying about morality? What are you?" "Well, it's immoral." "What?" "Why, to your thinking, every deceived husband is a noodle." "What, are you the husband? I thought the husband was on Voznesensky Bridge. So what is it to you? Why do you meddle?" "I do believe that you are the lover." "Listen, if you go on like this, I shall be forced to think that you are a noodle." "That is?" "Do you know who?" "That is, you mean to say that I am the husband?" said the gentleman in raccoon, stepping back as though he were scalded with boiling water. "Hush! Hold your tongue! Do you hear?" "It is she?" "No." "Whew! How dark it is!" There was a hush. A sound was audible in Bobynitsyn's flat. "Why should we quarrel, sir?" whispered the gentleman in raccoon. "But you took offence yourself, damn it all!" "But you drove me out of all patience." "Hold your tongue!" "You must admit that you are a very young man." "Hold your tongue!" "Of course I share your idea that a husband in such a position is a noodle." Oh, will you hold your tongue? Oh, but why such savage persecution of the unfortunate husband? It is she!" But at that moment the sound ceased. "Is it she?" "It is, it is, it is! But why are you worrying about it? It is not your trouble." "My dear sir," muttered the gentleman in raccoon, turning pale and gulping. "I am of course greatly agitated. You can see for yourself my abject position. But now it's night, of course, but to-morrow, though indeed we are not likely to meet to-morrow, though I am not afraid of meeting you, and besides it is not I, it is my friend on Voznesensky Bridge. It really is he. It is his wife. It is somebody else's wife. Poor fellow, I assure you I know him very intimately. If you will allow me I will tell you all about it. I am a great friend of his, as you can see for yourself, or I shouldn't be in such a state about him now, as you see for yourself. Several times I said to him, 'Why are you getting married, dear boy? You have position, you have means, you are highly respected. Why risk it all at the caprice of coquetry? You must see that.' 'No, I am going to be married,' he said. 'Domestic bliss.' Here's domestic bliss for you! In old days he deceived other husbands. Now he is drinking the cup. You must excuse me, but this explanation was absolutely necessary. He is an unfortunate man and is drinking the cup now." At this point the gentleman in raccoon gave such a gulp that he seemed to be sobbing in earnest. "Oh, damnation take them all! There are plenty of fools. But who are you?" The young man ground his teeth in anger. "Well, you must admit after this that I have been gentlemanly and open with you, and you take such a tone. No, excuse me, what is your name?" "Why, do you want to know my name?" "Ah, I cannot tell you my name." "Do you know Shabrin?" the young man said quickly. "Shabrin?" "Yes." "Shabrin? Ah!" Saying this, the gentleman in the wadded overcoat mimicked the gentleman in raccoon. "Do you understand?" "No. What Shabrin?" answered the gentleman in raccoon in a fluster. "He's not Shabrin. He's a very respectable man. I can excuse your discourtesy due to the tortures of jealousy." "He's a scoundrel, a mercenary soul, a rogue that takes bribes. He steals government money. He'll be had up for it before long." "Excuse me," said the gentleman in raccoon, turning pale. "You don't know him. I see you don't know him at all." "No, I don't know him personally, but I know him from others who are in close touch with him." "From what others, sir? I am agitated, as you see. A fool, a jealous idiot. He doesn't look after his wife, that's what he is, if you like to know." "Excuse me, young man, you are grievously mistaken." "Oh, oh!" A sound was heard in Bobynitsyn's flat. A door was opened, voices were heard. "Oh, that's not she! I recognize her voice. I understand it all now. This is not she," said the gentleman in raccoon, turning as white as a sheet. "Hush!" The young man leaned against the wall. "My dear sir, I am off. It is not she, I am glad to say." "All right, be off then." "Why are you staying then?" "What's it to you?" The door opened, and the gentleman in raccoon could not refrain from dashing headlong downstairs. A man and a woman walked by the young man, and his heart stood still. He heard a familiar feminine voice, and then a husky male voice utterly unfamiliar. "Never mind, I will order the sledge," said the husky voice. "Oh, yes, yes, very well, do." "It will be here directly." The lady was left alone. "Glafira, where are your vows?" cried the young man in the wadded overcoat, clutching the lady's arm. "Oh, who is it? It's you, Tvorogov! My goodness, what are you doing here?" "Who is it you have been with here?" "Why, my husband. Go away, go away. He'll be coming out directly, from in there, from the Polovitsyns'. Go away, for goodness' sake, go away." "It's 3 weeks since the Polovitsyns moved. I know all about it." "I?" The lady dashed downstairs. The young man overtook her. "Who told you?" asked the lady. "Your husband, madame." "Ivan Andreyitch. He is here before you, madame." Ivan Andreyitch was indeed standing at the front door. "Aïe, it's you!" cried the gentleman in raccoon. "Aïe, c'est vous!" cried Glafira Petrovna, rushing up to him with unfeigned delight. "Oh, dear, you can't think what has been happening to me. I went to see the Polovitsyns. Only fancy, you know that they are living now by Izmaylovsky Bridge. I told you, do you remember? I took a sledge from there. The horses took fright and bolted. They broke the sledge and I was thrown out about 100 yards from here. The coachman was taken up. I was in despair. Fortunately, Monsieur Tvorogov." "What?" Monsieur Tvorogov was more like a fossil than like Monsieur Tvorogov. "Monsieur Tvorogov saw me here and undertook to escort me. But now you are here, and I can only express my warm gratitude to you, Ivan Ilyitch." The lady gave her hand to the stupefied Ivan Ilyitch, and almost pinched instead of pressing it. "Monsieur Tvorogov, an acquaintance of mine. It was at the Skorlupovs' ball we had the pleasure of meeting. I believe I told you. Don't you remember, Koko?" "Oh, of course, I remember," said the gentleman in raccoon, addressed as Koko. "Delighted, delighted!" And he warmly pressed the hand of Monsieur Tvorogov. "Who is it? What does it mean? I am waiting," said a husky voice. Before the group stood a gentleman of extraordinary height. He took out a lorgnette and looked intently at the gentleman in the raccoon coat. "Ah, Monsieur Bobynitsyn!" twittered the lady. "Where have you come from?" "What a meeting! Only fancy, I have just had an upset in a sledge. But here is my husband. Jean, Monsieur Bobynitsyn at the Karpovs' ball?" "Delighted, very much delighted, but I'll take a carriage at once, my dear." "Yes, do, Jean, do. I still feel frightened. I am all of a tremble. I feel quite giddy." "At the masquerade to-night?" she whispered to Tvorogov. "Good-bye, good-bye, Mr. Bobynitsyn. We shall meet to-morrow at the Karpovs' ball, most likely." "No, excuse me, I shall not be there to-morrow. I don't know about to-morrow, if it is like this now." Mr. Bobynitsyn muttered something between his teeth, made a scrape with his boot, got into his sledge and drove away. A carriage drove up. The lady got into it. The gentleman in the raccoon coat stopped, seemed incapable of making a movement, and gazed blankly at the gentleman in the wadded coat. The gentleman in the wadded coat smiled rather foolishly. "I don't know. Excuse me. Delighted to make your acquaintance," answered the young man, bowing with curiosity and a little intimidated. "Delighted, delighted. I think you have lost your galosh." Oh, yes, thank you. I keep meaning to get rubber ones." "The foot gets so hot in rubbers," said the young man, apparently with immense interest. "Jean, are you coming? It does make it hot." "Coming directly, darling." "We are having an interesting conversation. Precisely so, as you say. It does make the foot hot. But excuse me, I...." "Oh, certainly." "Delighted, very much delighted to make your acquaintance." The gentleman in raccoon got into the carriage set off. The young man remained standing looking after it in astonishment. II. The following evening there was a performance of some sort of the Italian opera. Ivan Andreyitch burst into the theatre like a bomb. Such furor, such a passion for music had never been observed in him before. It was known for a positive fact, anyway, that Ivan Andreyitch used to be exceeding fond of a nap for an hour or two at the Italian opera. He even declared on several occasions how sweet and pleasant it was. Why? The prima donna, he used to say to his friends, mews a lullaby to you like a little white kitten. But it was a long time ago, last season, that he used to say this. Now, alas, even at home, Ivan Andreyitch did not sleep at nights. Nevertheless, he burst into the crowded opera house like a bomb. Even the conductor started suspiciously at the sight of him, and glanced out of the corner of his eye at his side pocket, in the full expectation of seeing the hilt of a dagger hidden there in readiness. It must be observed that there were at that time two parties, each supporting the superior claims of its favourite prima donna. They were called the "cists" and the "nists." Both parties were so devoted to music that the conductors actually began to be apprehensive of some startling manifestation of the passion for the good and the beautiful embodied in the two prima donnas. This was how it was that, looking at the youthful dash into the parterre of a grey-haired senior (though indeed he was not actually grey-haired, but a man about 50, rather bald, and altogether of respectable appearance), the conductor could not help recalling the lofty judgment of Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, upon the evil example set by age to youth. And, as we have mentioned above, looking out of the corner of his eye at the gentleman's side pocket in the expectation of seeing a dagger. But there was a pocket-book and nothing else there. Darting into the theatre, Ivan Andreyitch instantly scanned all the boxes of the second tier, and, oh, horror! His heart stood still. She was here. She was sitting in the box. General Polovitsyn, with his wife and sister-in-law, was there too. The general's adjutant, an extremely alert young man, was there too. There was a civilian too. Ivan Andreyitch strained his attention and his eyesight. But, oh horror! The civilian treacherously concealed himself behind the adjutant and remained in the darkness of obscurity. She was here, and yet she had said she would not be here. It was this duplicity for some time displayed in every step Glafira Petrovna took which crushed Ivan Andreyitch. This civilian youth reduced him at last to utter despair. He sank down in his stall utterly overwhelmed. Why? One may ask. It was a very simple matter. It must be observed that Ivan Andreyitch's stall was close to the baignoire, and to make matters worse the treacherous box in the second tier was exactly above his stall, so that to his intense annoyance he was utterly unable to see what was going on over his head, at which he raged, and got as hot as a samovar. The whole of the first act passed unnoticed by him, that is, he did not hear a single note of it. It is maintained that what is good in music is that musical impressions can be made to fit any mood. The man who rejoices finds joy in its strains, while he who grieves finds sorrow in it. A regular tempest was howling in Ivan Andreyitch's ears. To add to his vexation, such terrible voices were shouting behind him, before him, and on both sides of him, that Ivan Andreyitch's heart was torn. At last the act was over, but at the instant when the curtain was falling, our hero had an adventure such as no pen can describe. It sometimes happens that a playbill flies down from the upper boxes. When the play is dull and the audience is yawning, this is quite an event for them. They watch with particular interest the flight of the extremely soft paper from the upper gallery, and take pleasure in watching its zigzagging journey down to the very stalls, where it infallibly settles on some head, which is quite unprepared to receive it. It is certainly very interesting to watch the embarrassment of the head for the head is invariably embarrassed. I am indeed always in terror over the ladies' opera glasses, which usually lie on the edge of the boxes. I am constantly fancying that they will fly down on some unsuspecting head. But I perceive that this tragic observation is out of place here, and so I shall send it to the columns of those newspapers which are filled with advice, warnings against swindling tricks, against unconscientiousness, hints for getting rid of beetles if you have them in the house, recommendations of the celebrated Mr. Principi, sworn foe of all beetles in the world, not only Russian but even foreign, such as Prussian cockroaches, and so on. But Ivan Andreyitch had an adventure which has never hitherto been described. There flew down on his, as already stated, somewhat bald head, not a playbill. I confess I am actually ashamed to say what did fly down upon his head, because I am really loath to remark that on the respectable and bare, that is partly hairless, head of the jealous and irritated Ivan Andreyitch there settled such an immoral object as a scented love letter. Poor Ivan Andreyitch, utterly unprepared for this unforeseen and hideous occurrence, started as though he had caught upon his head a mouse or some other wild beast. That the note was a love letter, of that there could be no mistake. It was written on scented paper, just as love letters are written in novels, and folded up so to be treacherously small, so that it might be slipped into a lady's glove. It had probably fallen by accident at the moment it had been handed to her. The playbill might have been asked for instance, and the note, deftly folded in the playbill, was being put into her hands, but an instant, perhaps an accidental nudge from the adjutant, extremely adroit in his apologies for his awkwardness, and the note had slipped from a little hand that trembled with confusion, and the civilian youth, stretching out his impatient hand, received instead of the note the empty playbill, and did not know what to do with it. A strange and unpleasant incident for him, no doubt, but you must admit that for Ivan Andreyitch it was still more unpleasant. "Prédestiné!" he murmured, breaking into a cold sweat and squeezing the note in his hand. "Prédestiné! The bullet finds the guilty man." The thought flashed through his mind: "No, that's not right. In what way am I guilty? But there is another proverb: 'Once out of luck, never out of trouble.'" But it was not enough that there was a ringing in his ears and a dizziness in his head at this sudden incident. Ivan Andreyitch sat petrified in his chair, as the saying is, more dead than alive. He was persuaded that his adventure had been observed on all sides, although at that moment the whole theatre began to be filled with uproar and calls of encore. He sat overwhelmed with confusion, flushing crimson and not daring to raise his eyes, as though some unpleasant surprise, something out of keeping with the brilliant assembly, had happened to him. At last he ventured to lift his eyes. "Charmingly sung," he observed to a dandy sitting on his left side. The dandy, who was in the last stage of enthusiasm, clapping his hands and still more actively stamping with his feet, gave Ivan Andreyitch a cursory and absent-minded glance, and immediately putting up his hands like a trumpet to his mouth, so as to be more audible, shouted the prima donna's name. Ivan Andreyitch, who had never heard such a roar, was delighted. "He has noticed nothing," he thought, and turned around. But the stout gentleman who was sitting behind him had turned around too, and with his back to him was scrutinizing the boxes through his opera glass. "Me is all right too," thought Ivan Andreyitch. In front, of course, nothing had been seen. Timidly, and with a joyous hope in his heart, he stole a glance at the baignoire, near which was his stall, and started with the most unpleasant sensation. A lovely lady was sitting there who, holding her handkerchief to her mouth and leaning back in her chair, was laughing as though in hysterics. "Ugh, these women!" murmured Ivan Andreyitch, and treading on people's feet, he made for the exit. Now I ask my readers to decide. I beg them to judge between me And Ivan Andreyitch, was he right at that moment? The Grand Theatre, as we all know, contains 4 tiers of boxes and a 5th row above the gallery. Why must he assume that the note had fallen from one particular box, from that very box and no other? Why not, for instance, from the gallery, where there are often ladies too? But passion is an exception to every rule, and jealousy is the most exceptional of all passions. Ivan Andreyitch rushed into the foyer, stood by the lamp, broke the seal, and read: "To-day, immediately after performance, in G. Street, at the corner of X. Lane K. Buildings, on the 3rd floor, the first on the right from the stairs, the front entrance. Be there, sans faute, for God's sake." Ivan Andreyitch did not know the handwriting, but he had no doubt it was an assignation. To track it out, to catch it and nip the mischief in the bud, was Ivan Andreyitch's first idea. The thought occurred to him to unmask the infamy at once on the spot, but how could it be done? Ivan Andreyitch even ran up to the 2nd row of boxes, but judiciously came back again. He was utterly unable to decide where to run. Having nothing clear he could do, he ran round to the other side and looked through the open door of somebody else's box at the opposite side of the theatre. Yes, it was so, it was. Young ladies and young men were sitting in all the seats vertically, one above another, in all the 5 tiers. The note might have fallen from all tiers at once, for Ivan Andreyitch suspected all of them of being in a plot against him. But nothing made him any better, no probabilities of any sort. The whole of the 2nd act he was running up and down all the corridors and could find no piece of mind anywhere. He would have dashed into the box office in hope of finding from the attendant there the names of the persons who had taken boxes on all the 4 tiers, but the box office was shut. At last there came an outburst of furious shouting and applause. The performance was over. Calls for the singers began, and 2 voices from the top gallery were particularly deafening, the leaders of the opposing factions. But they were not what mattered to Ivan Andreyitch. Already thoughts of what he was to do next flitted through his mind. He put on his overcoat and rushed off to G. Street, to surprise them there, to catch them unawares, to unmask them, and in general to behave somewhat more energetically than he had done the day before. He soon found the house, and was just going in at the front door, when the figure of a dandy in an overcoat darted forward right in front of him, passed him, and went up the stairs to the 3rd storey. It seemed to Ivan Andreyitch that this was the same dandy, though he had not been able at the time to distinguish his features in the theatre. His heart stood still. The dandy was 2 flights of stairs ahead of him. At last he heard a door open on the 3rd floor, and opened without the ringing of a bell, as though the visitor was expected. The young man disappeared into the flat. Ivan Andreyitch mounted to the 3rd floor before there was time to shut the door. He meant to stand at the door to reflect prudently on his next step, to be rather cautious, and then to determine upon some decisive course of action. But at that very minute a carriage rumbled to the entrance, the doors were flung open noisily, and heavy footsteps began ascending to the 3rd storey to the sound of coughing and clearing of the throat. Ivan Andreyitch could not stand his ground, and walked into the flat with all the majesty of an injured husband. A servant maid rushed to meet him, much agitated. Then a manservant appeared. But to stop Ivan Andreyitch was impossible. He flew in like a bomb, and crossing 2 dark rooms suddenly, found himself in a bedroom facing a lovely young lady, who was trembling all over with alarm and gazing at him in utter horror, as though she could not understand what was happening around her. At that instant there was a sound in the adjoining room of heavy footsteps coming straight towards the bedroom. They were the same footsteps that had been mounting the stairs. "Goodness! It is my husband!" cried the lady, clasping her hands and turning whiter than her dressing gown. Chapter 7.